Tom Hanks was accepting his third Oscar when his phone buzzed with a text that made his blood run cold. "Your son Colin is missing. Last seen with people we can't identify. This is not a joke. ELX call immediately." Tom left the after-party without explanation, spent the next 72 hours in a nightmare no parent should face, and discovered that fame comes with a price that almost cost him everything. February 27, 2020. The Dolby Theater was electric with celebration as Tom accepted the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for his role in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Standing at the podium, looking out at the sea of Hollywood's biggest stars, Tom felt the familiar gratitude that always accompanied these moments. This was his third Oscar, but it never got old. Thank you to the Academy, to Marielle and the entire team who believed in this story about the power of kindness. Tom began his acceptance speech. And thank you to Fred Rogers, who taught us that every person matters, especially the vulnerable ones we sometimes forget to protect. The audience applauded enthusiastically as Tom concluded with his usual grace and humility. But as he walked backstage clutching the golden statue, his phone vibrated insistently in his pocket. Tom normally would have ignored it. Oscar night was for celebrating buzz, but something made him check the message. The text was from an unknown number. "Your son Colin is missing. Last seen leaving his apartment in New York with 3 unidentified men. This is not a joke. Call this number immediately if you want to see him alive. You have 6 hours." Tom felt the world collapse around him. Tom's hands shook as he read the message again, hoping he'd misunderstood. Colin was 42 years old, a successful actor and musician living in Manhattan. He wasn't a child who could simply disappear, but the specificity of the message, the mention of his apartment, the 3 men felt terrifyingly real. Tom immediately called Colin's cell phone. It went straight to voicemail. He tried again, same result. The phone was either turned off or destroyed. "Mr. Hanks, you're needed for press photos," said a handler, interrupting Tom's growing panic. "I need to make some calls first," Tom replied, his voice tight with barely controlled fear. Tom found a quiet corner and called the number from the text. Electronically distorted voice answered immediately. "Mr. Hanks, I'm glad you're taking this seriously. Where is my son? What do you want? Your son is safe for now, but that depends entirely on your cooperation over the next few hours." The demands were unlike anything Tom had ever imagined. "You're going to use your influence to help us with a small problem," the voice continued. "There's a federal witness being held in protective custody. Someone who has information that could hurt important people. You're going to help us locate him." Tom felt sick. "I don't have access to federal witnesses. I'm an actor, not a government agent." "Mr. Hanks, you'd be surprised how many doors open when Tom Hanks makes a phone call. You know politicians. You know law enforcement officials. You have contacts throughout the government. Use them. And if I refuse, then your son Colin becomes a very sad news story. Actor's son found dead in apparent robbery gone wrong. These things happen in New York every day." Tom's mind raced. This wasn't a random kidnapping for money. This was something far more sophisticated and dangerous. "What witness? I need more information if you expect me to help." His name is Marcus Delacroix, former accountant for several offshore investment firms, currently being held by U.S. Marshals somewhere in the Los Angeles area. "We need his exact location within 6 hours." Tom realized he was trapped in an impossible situation. Tom knew he couldn't just call random government contacts asking about federal witnesses. That would raise immediate suspicion and probably accomplish nothing. But he also couldn't ignore the threat to Colin's life. "How do I know my son is actually alive?" Tom's phone buzzed with an incoming photo message. The image showed Colin tied to a chair in what looked like a warehouse or industrial space. His face was bruised, and he looked terrified. But he was clearly alive. "Mr. Hanks, every hour you delay puts your son in more danger. These people I work for aren't known for their patience." Tom made a decision that went against every instinct he had. "I need to verify that Colin is actually missing before I do anything else. You have 5 hours and 58 minutes, Mr. Hanks. Don't waste time on verification." Tom hung up and immediately called the LAPD. Despite the kidnapper's threats about not involving police, Tom knew he was in over his head. This wasn't something he could handle alone, and Colin's life was at stake. "This is Tom Hanks. I need to speak with someone about a kidnapping. My son has been taken, and the kidnappers are demanding that I help them locate a federal witness." The desk sergeant, clearly surprised to be taking this call, immediately transferred Tom to Detective Sarah Chen, who specialized in kidnapping cases involving high-profile families. "Mr. Hanks, I need you to tell me everything exactly as it happened." Tom described the text message, the phone call and the photo of Colin. Detective Chen listened carefully, taking notes. "Mr. Hanks, this sounds like a highly organized operation. The fact that they're targeting a federal witness suggests we're dealing with people connected to organized crime or international trafficking. What about my son? How do we find him?" "We're going to work with federal agencies to track down both your son and this Marcus Delacroix person. But Mr. Hanks, you need to understand, we can't let you actually help these people locate a federal witness." Tom faced an agonizing choice between his son's safety and the law. Detective Chen continued, "If Marcus Delacroix is in witness protection, it's because he has information that could save lives or stop serious crimes. Compromising his location could result in multiple deaths. So you're asking me to sacrifice my son to protect a stranger? I'm asking you to trust us to find another way. Mr. Hanks, if you help these kidnappers, you become an accessory to whatever they're planning to do to this witness." Tom understood the moral complexity, but his father's heart was screaming that Colin's life was the only thing that mattered. "Detective Chen, what if we can't find another way? What if Colin dies because I chose to be a good citizen instead of a good father?" The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. While Tom was wrestling with this impossible decision, Detective Chen received a call from the FBI. "APA, Agent Rodriguez had news about Marcus Delacroix. Mr. Hanks, there's something you need to know about this witness they want you to locate. Marcus Delacroix isn't just any federal witness. He's been providing information about a human trafficking network that operates between Mexico and the United States." Tom felt a chill. Human trafficking. The people who took your son are likely connected to this network. They want to eliminate Delacroix before he can testify in a case that could shut down their entire operation. Agent Rodriguez continued, "Mr. Hanks, we think this kidnapping is part of a larger plan. By forcing you to compromise Delacroix's location, they're not just silencing a witness, they're implicating you in obstruction of justice. It's a way to discredit you if you ever speak publicly about what happened." Tom realized the true scope of what he was facing. "You're saying they want to destroy both Delacroix and me?" "We think so." Tom Hanks, publicly connected to organized crime and federal witness intimidation, would be a massive scandal. It would overshadow any testimony Delacroix might give. Tom felt the walls closing in. These people weren't just criminal. They were strategic thinkers who understood how to weaponize his fame against him. His phone buzzed again. 4 hours remaining, Mr. Hanks. Have you made any progress locating our mutual friend? Tom showed the message to Detective Chen and Agent Rodriguez. "We need to buy more time," Agent Rodriguez said. "Can you string them along while we work on tracking Colin's location?" Tom made a call that required all his acting skills. Tom called the kidnapper's number back. When the distorted voice answered, Tom forced himself to sound cooperative but frustrated. "I've been making calls about Delacroix. It's not as easy as you think. People are asking questions about why I need this information. Then find better people to call, Mr. Hanks. People who don't ask questions. I'm trying, but I need more time. 6 hours isn't enough for something this sensitive." There was a long pause. "You have until midnight tonight. That's 8 additional hours. But Mr. Hanks, if you're playing games with us, your son will pay the price." Tom hung up and looked at the federal agents. "We have until midnight. Please tell me that's enough time to find Colin." The investigation moved into high gear. Agent Rodriguez assembled a task force combining FBI resources, LAPD detectives and U.S. Marshals. They started with the photo of Colin, analyzing the background for clues about his location. "The lighting and architecture suggest an industrial area," said the FBI's photo analysis expert. "Probably a warehouse district, most likely in Brooklyn or Queens based on the construction style." Meanwhile, phone records showed that Colin's cell phone had last pinged a tower in Long Island City before going dark. That narrowed the search area significantly. Tom waited in the federal building, feeling helpless as teams of professionals worked to save his son. Every few hours he received another threatening message, demanding updates on his progress with locating Delacroix. At 9 p.m. they got their first real break. Security camera footage from a Long Island City warehouse district showed a van matching the description of one seen near Collins' apartment building. The van was traced to a rental company that had recently reported several vehicles stolen. They're using stolen vehicles to avoid tracking, Agent Rodriguez explained. But we've got the general area now. Tactical teams began searching the warehouse district systematically. At 11:15 p.m., just 45 minutes before the deadline, they heard a faint tapping sound coming from inside an abandoned packaging facility. Inside, they found Colin tied up but unharmed, along with two of his kidnappers who had been left behind while the leaders fled. The reunion between Tom and Colin was emotional beyond words. Tom held his son for several minutes, both of them crying with relief and exhaustion. "Dad, I'm so sorry you went through this," Colin said. "They told me they were using me to force you to do something terrible. Colin, none of this was your fault. I'm just grateful you're safe." The captured kidnappers provided information that led to arrests throughout the trafficking network. Marcus Delacroix remained in protective custody and eventually testified in a case that resulted in dozens of convictions. But the impact on Tom went far beyond one traumatic night. In the weeks following Colin's rescue, Tom struggled with nightmares and anxiety about his family's safety. He hired additional security and temporarily moved his family to a more secure location. "I realized that fame makes you a target in ways I'd never considered," Tom later reflected. "These people didn't want money or publicity. They wanted to use my love for my son as a weapon against justice." The experience changed how Tom approached his public life. Tom became more selective about his public appearances and more careful about sharing details of his family's lives. He also became an advocate for stronger protections for federal witnesses and their families. "When criminals can threaten someone like me, imagine what they can do to ordinary families who lack resources and protection," Tom said in a rare interview about the incident. Colin's perspective on the ordeal was equally profound. "I spent 12 hours wondering if I was going to die because of who my father is," Colin later said. "But I also saw an entire team of federal agents working around the clock to save me. It reminded me that there are good people willing to fight against evil even when it's dangerous." The case had lasting implications for celebrity security. The FBI used Tom's case to develop new protocols for protecting high-profile families from organized crime intimidation. Several other celebrities quietly upgraded their security after learning about the sophisticated nature of the threat Tom had faced. Years later, Tom credits the experience with teaching him about real courage. "I've played heroes in movies my whole career," Tom often says. "But that night, I learned the difference between fictional courage and real courage. Real courage is trusting other people to help you do the right thing, even when everything inside you is screaming to protect your family at any cost." The Oscar that started it all sits in a different place now. Tom moved his Oscar from that night to a shelf in Colin's home, where it serves as a reminder of how quickly joy can turn to terror, and how precious the ordinary moments with family really are. Every award, every accolade, every success means nothing if you can't protect the people you love, Tom reflects. But sometimes protecting them means trusting others to help you do what's right. That's the Tom Hanks story about the night that taught him the true price of fame.